Today with me is Christopher Gerdeisen. He is the CEO of Nova Minerals. Nova is the owner of the Estelle-Gold-project and has 9.9 million ounces in the ground of Alaska. It's been a while since we spoke last time, and I think in between you have done extensive exploration work at the Estelle-Gold-project, and you also just completed your drilling campaign at the RPM zone. You already have more than a million ounces over there at RPM, and now you've got great results from RPM North and South, but also from RPM Valley, a new target that you discovered. Can you please tell us a little bit more about your recent campaign?
Sure. So our starting point, to understand and put this into context, our starting point last year, at the beginning of the year, we released a scoping study. And this was a snapshot in time. The company, as a company, wanted to know, where are we going with this project? Do we have something viable here? And if you recall, it was a good start. It was 650 million NPV, 53% IRR, less than $400 million capex, 17-year mine life with an 11-month payback period. And of course, that comes from that high-grade RPM coming in early and producing almost 2.3 million ounces over that 17 years. So not a bad start, but again, a starting point, a foundation to build on. And that's what we started with at the beginning of last year's drill season. And that's now completed, of course, in 2023. And we completed almost 7,000 meters at RPM, focused on 3 zones now. The RPM South zone, which is shaping up as a very bulk system. You don't have the extreme high grades yet that we see at RPM North, but we're starting to build that out, infill drill that, prove up those resources and expand it. And then, of course, what's really become the jewel in the crown is the RPM North Bonanza zone, where we have that extreme high grade. And we did extensive drilling there, most of our drilling, in fact. And what we see is we've drilled up dip of that Bonanza zone, of that high grade zone, and we've continued to hit significant intercepts. Recall, RPM, just to put it in perspective, RPM had the intercept 132 meters at 10.1 grams per ton within a larger intercept of 400 meters at 3.5 grams per ton. That was the discovery hole of the Bonanza zone. And now this year's drilling, go back to the news releases, we're continuing to replicate that and duplicate that. Similar results. Now up dip, also very exciting. We drilled a couple of holes deeper below that zone, and we're seeing a down dip extension. Early days, but there appears to be potentially a down dip ore shoot to that system. So that's something we intend to follow up as we move forward. That RPM North zone, we did close it off to the west. We believe there's a fault offset there. However, it remains wide open to the east. So there's additional work and still drilling to be done there as we move forward here into 2024. Also very exciting is a third zone, the RPM Valley, which you mentioned. In previous years, we did have a couple of drill holes drilled off the ridge down into the valley. So actually the mineralization, the intercepts were quite deep in the holes. However, because it's actually down on the valley, it's quite shallow. It's not that deep under the surface. But those results there that we were following up were 76 meters at 1.2 grams per ton, 30 meters at 2 grams per ton. And so we wanted to follow up and confirm that RPM Valley zone. And that's indeed what we did. Our latest news release presented those results, and we got similar results. In fact, actually better results, 204 meters at 1 gram, 40 meters at 2 gram, I believe it was. And so that has shaped up and confirmed now a third zone at RPM. So you have RPM North, RPM South, and now RPM Valley. Further work and further step out drilling, further infill drilling is required to continue to prove up and expand these resources. The potential exists for all of these zones to interconnect. And so that would, and that's the work we'll be doing in 2024 and beyond, perhaps. So this system is above 1 million ounces. We will be doing a resource update here at some stage, and we expect those numbers to increase from the previous resource update at RPM. So that's the story there.
Chris, let's go a little bit more into details and bring your results a little bit in perspective. You have more than 8 million ounces at your Corbel deposit, and I think you will build a processing plant for the gold ore over there. But you also have other targets like Train and RPM, for example, which are probably too far to truck the ore from one point of the project to the other point of the project because of the pure scale of the project. In your press releases, you already talked about a potential processing plant between RPM and Train. Can we go a little bit more into details? How realistic is that, and what does it need to make a final decision?
Great question. Lots of exciting developments in the whole metallurgical processing mine plan realm. And now with this drilling complete, we've moved into the PFS stage now. And so with that PFS, we've completed and we're engaged in a strategic review to see how all of this will play out. If you recall, back to the scoping study, our processing flow sheet and our development plan was a central processing facility at Corbel. And that processing facility, we would truck material from the high-grade material from RPM up to Corbel, and that would be the first 3-4 years of production, giving us that very quick payback. And then being next to Corbel, where you have the bulk tonnage lower grade system, but most of your tons are there, very short haul right next to the Corbel pit, the central processing facility was. The intention there, if you understand the Corbel ore body, there's a higher grade feeder zone there in the center, and so that would be direct mill feed. However, a majority of the Corbel resource is lower grade, average grade of 0.3 grams per ton. And that ore body has sheeted veins. Those sheeted veins, when we selectively sample those, they're running ounces per ton. Those veins are very continuous, very consistent. And how do you separate? So the challenge is, how do you separate out those very high-grade veins? And we've done extensive test work. And what it's shown is that it ore sorts exceptionally well. So we intend to use density ore sorting technology to ore sort that material first, and then that ore sorted accepted concentrated material will then go through the processing plant. So that was what was envisioned in the scoping study. Now we went down the ore sorting route early years ago. We started envisioning heap leach, and then we did test work with ore sorting, and it ore sorts exceptionally well, and we went down that path. Now with RPM coming online, we're looking at other options to improve and optimize our flow sheet. So as part of the PFS studies, we're now looking at heap leach agglomeration. And so this is similar to what our peers do here in the Trentino Gold Province, Victoria Gold, Fort Knox, and we're working with METS Engineering to look at the Corbel material and the lower grade RPM material for heap leach agglomeration. What you do with heap leach agglomeration is you can crush the material quite fine. I think Victoria Gold does 6 millimeter, and you can go down to 1 millimeter. And so the geology and the technical aspects of Corbel and Estelle is very similar to Fort Knox and Victoria Gold. And so what you do then with that finer crushed material is you agglomerate it with some type of binder, like a cement or some type of leachate, and then it creates briquettes, and then you put it on a heap leach pad, and you can achieve 70, upwards of 80% recovery with that. So that's the test work we're completing right now, and so we believe that test work will show positive result, and that's a game changer. That is a game changer, and so what that enables us to do, have numerous options. And so you can ore sort the material, take the highest grade fraction. Remember, our test work showed we can take 0.4 gram material and upgrade it up to 6 grams per ton. But that comes at a cost to recovery. So the optimal, if you ore sort all the material, was upgrading it to about 1 to 1.2 grams per ton. However, having heap leach available to us, now we might be able to ore sort the material, take the highest grade fraction, 5 to 6 grams per ton. The reject portion is still running around 0.3, 0.4 grams per ton. And then you heap leach the reject portion and you put the high grade portion through the plant. And so if that's and that's the test work we're completing now. So we have that option. If that's the case, then what we might find is that or we might just go straight heap leach, or we might just go straight heap leach as well. Maybe that'll pay. All those numbers we've borne out as part of the PFS. But what it's looking like now, and we're waiting for that heap leach test work to play out, is that you will have a processing facility at Corbell utilizing heap leach or sorting, and you might actually start with that very low capex. Of course, these heap leach operations, very low capex, great returns on these. So you might start there. That's a possibility, but you have an operation with a lower capex at Corbell, and then you put a processing plant for the high grade material at RPM down south, which will be centrally located to take in RPM, all the high grade material at RPM, and as well as the surrounding prospects. You mentioned one, the Train area. So at Train, and we reported these results, our exploration, that area is just lighting up, right? And so Train and RPM are about 5 kilometers apart, and the processing facility would be centrally located right in between the two. And at Train, it's another massive intrusive related gold system there. It's a 4.5 kilometer long strike length, 2.5 kilometer width of just anomalous surface results, rock chips, soil samples, all through that area, just lights up. And we identified numerous prospects there. To name a few, there's the Train prospect proper, the Trumpet prospect, the Shoeshine prospect, where we've actually returned our highest grade surface result ever there at 1,290 grams per ton at Shoeshine. Then moving north of Shoeshine on the east side there, you have Discovery and then Muddy Creek. And Muddy Creek is, in terms of gold results, over 20, 30 gram per ton rock chip, or over 20 to 30 samples returning, upwards of 30, 40 gram per ton rock chips. That's a very nice area. So our hottest targets there for follow-up drilling in the Train area are right now are Trumpet and Muddy Creek. Those are the next, which we're looking at getting our RC rig that we own that's on our site, getting it out there and doing some scout drilling next year with that RC rig on those two prospects, Trumpet and Muddy Creek. And we'll use our diamond rigs to continue to focus on proving up and increasing RPM. But the exciting thing with the exploration, now that we're talking that, if I may continue on with exploration, is with our exploration work, we also made several other new discoveries across the Estelle project this year. And those two that I might highlight are Stibium and Styx. And you might tell from the prospect name Stibium, that of course is the Latin name for antimony. And of course there's a reason we discovered we called it Stibium, because we not only found gold up to 12.7 grams per ton at Stibium, but we've also found massive stibnite veining. This is the primary ore source for antimony, of course. And antimony, I'm a gold guy, Jan. I'm a gold guy. Dabbled in a few other things in my day, right? Some gemstones and potash, but antimony. We've done a lot of research on this. Come to find out, it is one of the most strategic and critical metals known to man in numerous civilian applications, a flame retardant, your iPhone. Why doesn't the glass scratch so easy? Antimony is a key component in that. Battery technology, the liquid metal battery, Ambry, Bill Gates and crew doing the antimony calcium battery, the sodium antimony ion battery technology uses. Also, defense applications, kind of a bittersweet part of the demand side, but all the munitions that are used to harden lead for primers, antimony. There is no U.S. production of antimony, Jan. No U.S. production. So we are exploring the opportunities for, of course, in the critical mineral space, there's a lot of grants available, and we're exploring those opportunities. There's a lot of grants going to other companies for other metals in the U.S., but there's not many antimony, only one other antimony play I know of in the U.S. And so we're pursuing that. And so far, we've seen very good interest to those granting parties to present our case. And so I'll just mention that. But it's not a diversion. The reason we're looking at it is because it's not a diversion from our core business, which is gold. The antimony is coincident with the gold. These are gold antimony prospects. So as we're searching and exploring and proving up resources for the gold, the antimony is in with gold, and it's just another byproduct that can provide significant byproduct credits, as well as having the added benefit of securing that supply chain for the U.S. So I'll leave it there. That's a lot for you to unpack.
You already mentioned that you found antimony on your targets, and I think that's pretty interesting too, because that's a really important critical material, but the US has no domestic supply at all. So to me, it seems to be pretty important for the US to have a domestic supply, and maybe you could be part of that supply. Can we already talk about the potential of the antimony, or is it way too early to go more into details?
Well, it's a bit early. We do not have any. It's surface sampling. It's surface sampling, and we do not have a JORC resource or any type of resource over that area, or over several areas. It's not just once we discovered the antimony and recognized that at Stibium and Styx, where we have massive stibnite veining on the surface. We then went back to look at all of our multi-element data across the project. And what we've discovered is that it's not only at Stibium and Styx, we're also seeing antimony in the Train area, at Trumpet, at Train, at Trumpet's the big one. We really see it, very good antimony results. And when I say good antimony results, for people to understand, at 0.1%, 1,000 ppm as a byproduct, that provides significant byproduct credits. And we can do that all day long. 1,000 ppm antimony. Once that is the point where you definitely consider antimony a byproduct. Anything above that, 0.5%, 1%, now you're talking about potentially antimony only type economic driver there. But we've seen that elsewhere across the prospect Train area. Also in that Train area, as we look at the multi-element data, we're seeing copper potential, very good copper potential, into the percents. Silver percents up to thousands of ppm silver. We haven't really focused on that in the past, and that's why at RPM and Corbel, we've also looked at this, and those tend to be quite clean metallurgically in terms of no copper, not much base metal, no economic quantities of antimony that we can tell right now, but they do have silver. They do have silver, about 3-to-1 silver. And so as we move forward in our resource estimates, we do intend to include silver as a byproduct and as part of our resource estimates at RPM and Corbel. And that'll also provide significant credits here in terms of the economics, right?
Perfect. Thank you very much for your insights. Let's talk about the mineral resource estimate. Can you give us a little bit of a time frame? How long will it take until we see a new resource estimate?
Right now, so one of the things we're doing right now is we're looking at a U.S. listing, and we're in that process now. And it's kind of gathered steam here at the start of 2024. So that's our main focus right now.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to my last question for today, Chris, and let's talk about the infrastructure. As far as I know, there is an access road in the planning, and we are currently in the permitting stage, and construction is planned for 2025. But we just crossed 2024. That means we're getting closer to that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the access road? Because I think it's pretty important for you and for your capital costs as well to have a good road, which makes it easier for the truck to get to your project.
Yes, a lot happening there. Actually, a lot happening there. It's gathering major momentum. We're seeing widespread support across the spectrum: government, local community, local government, state government. And you're right, it is progressing. And so at this stage, the first half of the road, actually the most expensive part of the road, going from Port Mackenzie, which of course is the deep water port across from Anchorage there, going from Port Mackenzie out across the Susitna River with that bridge. That part of the road is in the Department of Transportation STIP, the State Transportation and Infrastructure Plan, 5-year plan. And so that when it's in the STIP, it means it's fully funded and it's in the budget. And so that's very exciting to get that part of the road in. The remaining portion of the road, and there's many options there, how that, what type of road that is, public access, industrial haul road, but that is being worked on by ADIA, the Alaska Industrial Development Export Authority, who do a lot of the public-private projects here in Alaska. You know, the Red Dog zinc mine, port and road, very successful project for them. And so that last part of the road is being pushed forward for them. But it's very exciting to have that first part of the road in the DOT STIP, and that's correct in the budget. And to break their schedule shows them breaking ground on that next year, 2025. So that's a very, very good start. And of course, with that road coming in, you know, the completion date for them is 2028 to be fully open to haul things like some of the other projects out there, concentrate, some of these type of things. Of course, we don't require that to start producing gold doré bars, which are with our current mine plan. So all we need is an alignment, a pioneer road, and that would be suitable for us in the early days of that road to start construction. And so that fits our timeline quite nicely, and we're very excited about that. And your viewers should look into the Alaska news to keep tabs on that. It's there's a lot of news on that these days, and I expect so moving forward into 2024.
Chris, thank you very much for summarizing your whole project. It's a pretty interesting story. And to our listeners, you will find all the information you need below in the description. We don't do any investment advice. Please do your own due diligence. And if you have any questions, please get back to us in the comment section.